As a community here in Orlando, after today's latest mass shooting, many of us are just asking, how much more of this can we take?
Yeah, it's easy to become fearful or the opposite, desensitized to so much violence. This afternoon, I sat down with nationally certified crisis counselor Dwight Bain to talk about how we can cope and some specifics about recognizing a potential threat of violence where you work.
The most common place that somebody's going to be shot with a handgun is actually at work from a former employee. So tragically, what happened today is a reflection of what happens around the country. People paying attention to warning signs and symptoms. If somebody looks particularly sad, lonely, particularly angry, they're always talking about violent things. Those are indicators we need to help them get some help. I never want somebody to be in harm's way. But Vanessa, I do want people to be able to, instead of living in fear, to be aware, and sometimes maybe they're that person to be able to say, do you need a friend? Can I help you in some way?
And so how do we deal with it?
The key to stopping this kind of violence is community, to have people connected, talking to each other, supporting each other, so that nobody goes through this alone. Many times what we would call workplace bullying or toxic people, that goes on not just for days or weeks, Vanessa, it goes on for months and years. These are very slow ticking time bombs.
Is there a concern that we become desensitized? It's like, oh, just another shooting, here we go again kind of thing, because we've seen so much, especially in the last year.
It's easy for people. Remember, psychogenic amnesia is to go psychologically numb. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to think about it. I want to go into my bubble. And for some people, because their life is already so stressful, that bubble is their safe place. You can't live there, but you can go and you can recharge there. And so for individuals who say, I don't want to think about it anymore, I'm turning off the news, I'm just going to move away to some part of Antarctica where nothing bad happens, that's not realistic. So embracing reality. Reality is hard, but we can get through it if we have supports, we have coping skills, we have a realistic perspective.
To speak to the greater issue for our community, this past year we have lived through a lot. So people might have the feeling of, how much more can we take?
That is a very hard reality. How much more can we take? We live in a metropolitan area. If we were talking about Los Angeles or Houston or Chicago or London, you would say, wow, tragic things happen in big cities. And even though I grew up here, Vanessa, this is my hometown, we now live in a big city where dangerous things happen. We don't have to live in fear. Dangerous, traumatic things don't have to define us, they don't have to stop us, but they do have to cause us to stop and reach out to build that sense of community. We saw last night in Manchester, when people come together on the other side of tragedy and a traumatic episode, communities actually get stronger. Hashtag Orlando Strong is still who we are. We don't have to give that up. We will press forward if we do it together.
Orlando Strong, still who we are. Now, we also talked about if you know someone who is close to this tragedy today, someone who lost a relative or friend, or a survivor, he calls it the ministry of presence. And that is, what can you do? Just be present. It's like sometimes people don't need you to say the right thing or do the right thing. They just need to know you're there.
And that's really, at the end, that's what
it's all
everyone
about.
needs.
Absolutely.